try to keep it short and sweet. So my name is Gerta, and I work as a software engineer for the design system team at Xing. So I will be talking a lot about Xing. So Xing is a social network for professional development, and unfortunately, it's only for the German market. So it is 15 years old, which means for 15 years, a lot of designers and developers has contributed code and design into it. We started first with web application, and a few years later, we developed iOS and Android app as well. So design system at Xing. Design system, it's not a brand new to Xing. We developed a web design system, which we call the brewery design system. And it's consisting of malt and hops. So malt is the component library, and hops is tooling around it, more like an underground of it. From the other side, iOS and Android was building their own component libraries as well. So why do we have to build a design system after all? We have all the components and everything is in place, but actually it's not. We had a lot of problems like with alignment across platforms, and at Xing we have a lot of microservices, which is good from one side, but when it comes to align, we ship a lot of version of our NPM package, and we ended up having like 10 different versions of our buttons in the site. And for our users, they don't know we have different teams or whatever, so they just need to use the site, and it has to be consistent. And it's also hard to make changes. So last year, a group of nice designers in our Innovation Week, they decided to redesign the whole Xing with using minimal German design. It was bold and really nice, so the company committed to it, but how are we going to implement it? We have 3 different design systems, and they are completely independent from each other. We are completely from different business units. So it's January 2019, and the company committed to have a design system team. And it consists from web developers and designers from web design system team, and also from iOS platform and Android platform team. So we gather together, and we are the same cluster, so we work very close together. While we was building the team slowly, we was pretty sure that we need to have very consistent foundation of our design system. Foundation are icons, colors, and font, whatever we need, like basic building blocks to build component. So it was pretty convenient that it has to be as consistent as possible. What I mean with consistent, it's like our goal was we need to have the same design token across 3 platforms. So how can we do this? One of our very experienced developers came up with an idea so we can export everything from scratch in the needed format, which means we have an icon, which it can be used for iOS, Android, and web. And yeah, it works pretty well. It's still an ongoing process, but still, it's a nice way to start. A very important concept for us is like a developer experience. As Shelly said this morning, like we need to have API documentation as consistent as possible. So an API documentation, it stands for Application Programming Interface, and it's like a contract between a developer and the design system. So in order to know how a design system works, you need to understand how to use and what features has this component. So an API documentation, it includes like naming conventions, like the component name, design token, props, and prop types. Also, we use atomic design at Xing, which consists of atoms, molecules, and organisms. So it's kind of separated because it's owned by platforms, but they use our atoms and molecules. So the atom, it's a basic building block of a component. And molecules, it's more than 2 atoms together. At Xing, this is a nice method which was invented by Brad Frost quite a while ago, but at Xing, we use it it's the same principle, but we use it a bit differently. So we call this modular component model, and it consists of a shell, which is more like a basic a default status of a component. Let's say, for example, buttons. Okay. Maybe I can wrap it up. So it consists of shell, and we have skins which we add on top of it, and then we have behaviors which are more like revealing and all those sort of functions. So we have this profile image which looks something like this, and we call it all together. And of course, when we created our design system, we can't be like, hey, can you please pause for a bit until we build this nice design system? We get something that we call flavor switch. For every old components, we build a flavor switch which looks something like this. Thank you so much.